Well, good afternoon, Happy New Year and welcome along to Matchday Live here on Fox's Hub for Leicester's first game of 2025. Let's hope it's another memorable year, just like 2024 was, of course, for the Foxes. I'm Dan Bates. On the sofa next to me, we've got a man who played for both Villa and Leicester. I guarantee he is supporting Leicester today, and Mark Albrighton and Jerry Taggart, no doubt of his allegiances today. On the sofa next to me, good afternoon to the both of you. Happy New Year to the both of you as well. It's great to have you along.
Yes, and to you.
Thank you very much. Are you looking forward to this one?
I am, yeah. It's always a fixture that I always look to. And I think with both sides coming in on not so great form, I think it could be anything today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's obviously a massive game, a Midlands derby. Leicester obviously going into this game with 4 defeats on the bench, but on the back of that, a good performance against Man City. So hopefully, there's a bit of confidence going into this game today. It's going to be a tough game. There's no doubt about that. But, as I said, well, a performance last week against Man City being a really good performance and getting nothing on the back of it. Hopefully, something good can come out of today.
Yes, and there's one good omen as well in terms of first games of calendar years. Leicester have only lost one of those since 2008.
Wow.
So that's an impressive record that hopefully Ruud van Nistelrooy's side can continue today. Over the course of the next hour, of course, we'll hear a lot more from Mark and from Jerry as we build up to kickoff, which is naturally a 3 o'clock one. We're going to look back at that game with Man City. One of many people saying the best performances of the season. Obviously didn't end with any points though. We'll look back at some of the best goals scored in December in our Goal of the Month competition and hear from Conor Cody as well. He was sat down at Seagrave looking ahead to this game, the first one of course of the new year. Right, let's get straight to today's team news though, starting with Leicester City. Changes have been made by Ruud van Nistelrooy to the team that did face Manchester City, of course, at the end of last year. 2 changes, in fact. We see Christensen drop out. He's not in the squad at all through illness, so he misses out. Luke Thomas comes in, and Buonanotte drops to the bench as well. Jordan Ayew replaces him on the right-hand side of that 3 in behind Jamie Vardy. Right, it's Stolarczyk in goal then. Thomas, Vestergaard, Cody and Justin across the back 4. Winks and Samare, the holding midfielders who looked so good against Man City with El Kanous just in front of them. The 3 of those kept the ball brilliantly that day. Mavididi and Ayew support Jamie Vardy, who is up front, who also loves a goal against Aston Villa. On the bench, it's Everson, Fass, Akoli, Decordova-Reid, Chowdhury, Daka, Skip, Alves and Buonanotte. From an Aston Villa point of view, they make 3 changes. In come Cash, Mings and Barkley for 3 of possibly, and we'll hear from Mark on this, their most important players in Carlos, Pau Torres and Morgan Rogers. Injuries to Torres and to Carlos. Morgan Rogers misses out through suspension. This is their 11 then. They've got Martinez in goal, Digne, Mings, Konsa and Cash. Kamara and Barkley as the 2 we think holding midfielders. Maybe that'll be Yuri in there with Barkley in their 10, we'll find out. McGinn and Bailey also support Ollie Watkins. Right, that is the Aston Villa team then. Both teams, in fact, as we build up to kick-off. We'll hear from Matt Elliott, who is on co-commentary for us across in the West Midlands a little bit later on. We're going to chat to these 2 first, though, obviously. React to the team news. Mark, we'll start with you. 2 changes. Buonanotte out. He's on the bench. Christensen, we know he's ill now. He doesn't play. Luke Thomas comes in. But you were saying in the other room that Villa themselves, they've had to make a number of changes. They're missing some important players. There's a chance for the Foxes today.
I think there is, yeah. I think with Villa missing Morgan Rogers especially, who's been outstanding for them in recent months, he probably started a little bit slow. He had some good attributes to his game, but he weren't really sort of finishing anything in the final third. He weren't really sort of creating too much, but I think in the last couple of months that's changed for him, and he's getting more of an output there. So that's a big loss. Pau Torres at the back as well, who's been solid for Villa all season. That's another massive loss. But I think in general game terms, I think the midfield is huge. I think a lot of Villa's strength is their midfield, and especially they've had Boubacar Kamara come back as well, and he's been massive for them, and with the form of Yuri Tielemans as well, who we all know so well. It's a big strength for theirs. But I look at our midfield today and the way that they played last week against Man City, and I'd like to think that we've got a good match up there, and if they can produce the same sort of performance as they did last week, I think that we should really give them a good game.
Yeah, that's a good point Mark makes about the two midfields. Big game for Leicester's midfield. You know, looking pretty strong. The way El Khanous played last week was at times sublime. Harry Winks and Samari worked well together as well. So it's a big game for those three in there today. We know what Vardy can bring. We know that Mavididi, we know what he can do. I use possibly in the side for a little bit more stability, but also when you're looking at Leicester's bench, its attacking options are pretty limited. So Buonanotte is that little jack in the box that hopefully can come on a little bit later in the game and pull out something special. But I agree with Mark, the midfield today, the midfield battle is massive today for Leicester.
And how much confidence can they take? We'll look back at the highlights in a moment from the Man City game. What you won't see in those is the fact that Leicester had more possession than Man City that day, and that really came through the likes of Winks, through Samari, through El Khanous.
Yeah, I thought they had a lot of control in the midfield, especially Winks and Samari. I thought they had plenty of control in there, and then there was giving it to El Khanous, who was trying to produce things. He was the most creative player on the day, and like I say, if they can form a relationship that can move forward this season, then I think that could be a major help to Leicester this season.
I think the only criticism, and it's a really small criticism I had of El Khanous last week, was unlike the game against West Ham, where he's making those late runs into the box and he gets his goal, but didn't really see that from him last week against Man City. So I'd like to see a little bit more of him getting involved in the goal scoring opportunities in the opposition's box, because.
Do you think he sees himself more as a creator?
Yeah, but I think he's got to try and add that part to his game where he's going to get in those goal scoring positions, because invariably when Leicester break down the flanks, or there's opportunities for the ball to come into the danger area, the numbers are pretty sparse, if the truth be told. So he's got to add that that to his game a little bit more. But his general play last week was unreal. So no criticism there. Can he get forward? Can he get involved a little bit more inside the box when things are happening on both flanks?
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. I think as an attacking creative player, whether you see yourself as a goal scorer or somebody that provides assists, in the game this day and age, you need to have both. Them numbers on both sides of it need to be big. So you have to be making the runs. You see Liverpool at the minute, and the way that they run off the ball is the best in the league. They've constantly got runners, whether that's midfield runners, whether it's fullbacks, whether it's strikers. They've always got runners, and I think that's so important, because not only does it maybe create an option for a pass to them, but it also frees up that space in the middle where somebody else can get the ball. So it's something that I probably, when I played, it was something that I struggled with, getting into goal scoring positions, getting myself into positions where I'd create opportunities for myself. But I was told by plenty of managers that it's something you need to do to get your numbers higher. So I think it is something that he needs to work on. I think it is something that I'd like to see a lot more of. Obviously, last week was against Man City, so it was always going to be difficult. But I think going forward, especially in games against teams around you and sort of bottom half teams, you have to have them numbers forward.
And I guess for you as well, as you probably just rightly said yourself, you were more of a creator. When you put a ball into the box and then would look up and it was maybe only Jamie Vardy in there, did that frustrate you then, that there wasn't the likes of, I mean, Andy King did it so well, James Maddison did do it well, but if there were times when it wasn't done, and Jerry's alluding to the fact that maybe it wasn't against Man City, is that frustrating for you then as the winger?
It is, yeah. I think by rule of thumb, I think you should have at least 3 players attacking the box. That should be your striker, that should be your number 10 and your wide midfield player, and that should be minimum really in most situations when you get the ball wide. And if you haven't got that, obviously Vards is fantastic. He gets himself in some brilliant positions. He's got a knack for being in the right place at the right time. But defenders are attracted to him. So he will attract defenders, which means there's opening somewhere else, which means there's gaps somewhere else, because he catches the eye so much. It's perfect for a number 10 to run into. It's perfect for an opposite wide man coming in at the back post.
Buonanotte's actually done it quite a few times.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's a player that, given the opportunity or given the chance, he will get himself into that box. And so I also include the likes of Steffi Mavididi in that conversation, along with El Khanous, where when the ball's on the opposite side, as Mark's just spoke about, as the opposite wide player, you should be thinking, I should be trying to sneak in at that back post or in and around that the back post area to try and cause problems for the opposition. And I think it's important today, you know, that if Leicester are going to score goals, then they have to have men into the box, because we've seen last week, we've seen in one of the clips when the show was just put on there, like the balls that were coming in the box last week, El Khanous put one unbelievable ball.
Yeah, we'll see that.
And no, it wasn't converted. Yeah. And that's a striker's dream ball, really. And I know Jamie he made that trademark near post run, and he's let it go because he didn't have the angle to get it on target. And I think it was Buonanotte who was coming in and just couldn't get anything on it. And those are key moments in games of football. When those types of balls are coming into the box and no one's getting on the end of them, Mark, I'll tell you, it's so frustrating as someone who's supplying those crosses. But top crosses, they're not half a chance or it was half an opportunity. Those are gilt-edged opportunities. We need people to be getting on the end of them.
I think if you look at us last season, that was a major part of our game. If you look at the amount of goals that were scored by little stand-ups to the back post, whether it be Abdul getting in at the back post, Steffi got so many goals from Casey scored a few. So it's about having options of cross. As a wide player, you want as many options, whether that's the pullback, whether that's that corridor of uncertainty, whether that's the stand-up to the back post. You want to have these options, and that only comes with people making the runs and people being in them positions.
I'll tell you what, let's take a look back then at the highlights from that Man City game, the last game of the previous calendar year. It did end in defeat, but the performance was very encouraging.
Offering 20 minutes gone at King Power Stadium. Leicester 0, Manchester City 0. Lewis forward to Phil Foden, a strike from range. Stelarczyk pushing it away to Savinho, who strikes his first Manchester City goal. And it's the champions that take the lead. Foden's strike from the edge of the area was arrow into the bottom left corner. Stelarczyk pushing the ball away. With hindsight, maybe would have pushed it behind for a corner, because it fell to Savinho, left corner of the 6-yard area. A finish that's rifled into the roof of the net. Into Samore. Now it's Bilal Al-Khanous. He's got space on the right. Curls in a ball that no one could quite touch home. Vardy and Buonanotte both close to the goal line. Neither could get the defining touch. No surprise that Bilal Al-Khanous was the creator of the havoc. Beaten by Kovacic. Haaland will turn a long way from the Leicester goal, but he's away from Samore. Now he's on the edge of the box. Quick feet. Haaland just wide. Brilliant footwork inside the penalty area. Left foot, right foot. A cross that might have took a deflection. It flicked up into the air. James Justin header as Manchester City clear it. Buonanotte's header off the post. 6 yards out. Ortega rooted.
Again, excellent stuff from Leicester. On the left-hand side, Mavididi involved.
It's Mavididi's cross. Vardy sticking out a boot. as high as he possibly could. Great acrobatics from Leicester's number 9, 6 yards out. He's diverted it over the bar. It was a glorious chance. And tremendous skill from James McAtee to find De Bruyne. Then on the left edge of the area, Savinho. Haaland is in space and Haaland will score. A header inside the 6-yard area. It's a calm and composed celebration, but I'm sure deep inside he's beyond delighted to finally get them a victory. You can't give Erling Haaland a free header a few yards from goal.
Yes, 2-0 it did finish there, but you can see even from the highlights package there, really, you see the Man City goals and the rest were Leicester moments, Leicester chances, hitting the woodwork twice and the ball in that you've both referenced that probably should have ended up in a goal itself. That Leicester can take an awful lot away from that, Jerry.
Yeah, I think we were saying last week, how many times have you known a team have more possession in a game than Man City? I can't, well, it
doesn't happen often.
Correct. And so for that to happen last week, that's an obvious positive. Harry Winks central to that, along with El Khanous. We've seen lots of opportunities, lots of balls coming into the box. We even seen bodies in the box there, but they were more the half opportunities. I'd probably say the one opportunity that fell to Jimmy Vardy, where he sort of hooked it over the bar. That was a decent chance, you'd have to say, for a player of the calibre of Jamie Vardy anyway. So, as I said, okay, nothing came of it, but lots of positives to bring into today's game. But as we've seen that ball put in by El Khanous, I mean, I say it again, there could have been 3 players put that in the back line for Leicester, and unfortunately, there was just no one there to complete or seal the deal.
Here we go. I mean, what a ball in it is. Really.
Well, see, this is what I'm talking about. If you look at the far wing, you've got MATCHDAY. No one can see him. No one's picking him up, but he's far too far out. As soon as he's running back now, he should be sprinting at least 2 seconds, 3 seconds before that ball comes in to get in at that back post. And maybe, I'm not saying he's definitely got an opportunity, but maybe there's an opportunity there for him to slot that home, because no one can see. Man City are ball watching. They're watching the ball coming into the box, and he's one of those players that can sneak in the back post.
I think it's about reading the situation, reading the game. But at the same time, as a forward player, so as a striker, as a number 10, as an opposite wide player, you have to know that ball's coming in the box. So once the ball goes out there, it should be a thing, right, he's in that position, he's going to put the ball in the box. Because you see so often now, and this isn't just Leicester, this is most teams in the Premier League now, the wide players get the ball and it's fate to take a player on, then come back out and it shifts out to the other side, and then the other wide player has got to be wide to receive the ball. But I just feel like there's so much...
if he sprints in there where he looks
100%, it's perfect timing.
The ball goes back, doesn't it? And then MATCHDAY runs back towards his own goal, or jogs back towards his own goal. And then the ball goes forward again. As soon as that ball is passed forward, that's the time where you're thinking, I've got nothing to lose here. I'm in acres of space. I'm not going to worry about the ball being switch play, because El Khanous has got space and time to get the ball out of his feet and deliver that cross. That is, you've got to be thinking. And let's face it, they're not called wingers anymore. They're called wide forwards. He is part of the attacking lineup. He has to be making those runs, Steffi MATCHDAY.
I think as well, like we've just touched on there, with the goals that Steffi scored in that back post last season, he's got a couple there this season.
Yeah,
that should be his instinct now, because that's where he gets his goals. That's where he's going to get his numbers up. So that should be his first thought, right? Attack that back post.
Leicester hit the post twice. Oh, well, the woodwork, twice.
Yeah.
Jerry, again, can you criticise either of the 2 players here? This is just particularly Buonanotte. I mean,
I mean, I just love his energy. And here, I mean, he first of all, look at him. He can't jump. There's no power to be gained by jumping, so he's got to let the ball hit his head first of all, and he does exactly the right thing. It's a tight angle from where he is. We'll see it again, because there's bodies all over the place.
Another foot that goes in, because the ball's
half a foot. It's in off the post. So no, I mean, he's done exactly the right thing. He's tried his best. Let's face it, heading as an art form is slowly and sadly dwindling in the modern game. And so he's done exactly, he's got a good connection on it. If it's on target, the keeper's not getting it. I.e. if it's on the inside of the post, it's in the back line. It's as simple as that. So no real criticism.
Jamie Vardy himself as well, hitting the woodwork. He had a brilliant chance, didn't he, with the ball coming in. Again, difficult to criticise, isn't it, Mark, in those moments. But it just probably summed up the game a little bit, didn't it? That the Leicester just went so close on so many occasions.
Yeah, I think obviously the fact that he's still getting chances, he's against Man City, he's still getting in these positions to get the chances. That one's hard. Like he's going away from goal. There's not much power on the cross. He's done well to get anything on it. It's always going to be difficult to create anything from that. I think the other one where the ball's come across and he's nipped in just in front of the keeper. I think that's the one he'll be most disappointed with.
Should he maybe go with his head? Again, so difficult to criticise.
No, I've seen him go with his foot before in positions like that, and he's scored. I think he does the right thing. He just gets too much on it. He probably gets too much of a foot on it, and that takes it over the bar. But that's the one that he'll be disappointed with. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, I probably agree. But if there's one person in this team you can never criticise, then it's him, because he knows better than anybody what to do in those situations. And so, and I think you've seen his reaction afterwards, where he probably knew he should have done a little bit better. But again, it's not an easy chance. The problem he's got is with going with his foot, when it's so close in, is trying to control that ball and get it down on the ground. His foot is nearly at, it's at chest level at least when he's going for it. It's a really difficult skill from 2, 3, 4 yards out, whatever it is, to try and cushion that ball across the goal and into the back line out. So,
yeah, who are we to criticise?
Exactly.
He's got to do better.
And he does have a good record as well against Aston Villa, and he'll fancy it today. He fancies it every game, doesn't he, Mark? But he'll want to start his new year off with a goal today, of course.
Yeah, he will. Like you say, it seems like he likes playing against Villa. I've had sort of plenty of conversations with him on team buses where we've been arriving outside Villa Park, or when we've been playing against Villa, where he's majorly been up for it. So it's a big one for him. It's a big one for Leicester. I think if they can get him firing, he could cause the defence problems. I was listening to an interview with Ezri Konsa this morning. He was singing Vardy's praises and saying what a threat he is, and how the defence have got to be on the toes. So they know his threat. They know that they're wary of him. So like I say, with that comes their attention to him, which opens gaps everywhere else. So I think he's crucial for us today. If he can hold the ball up, if he can get into goal scoring positions and get us up the pitch.
And actually, final point, Jerry, before we move on from that Man City game, do you think Vardy now, he saw that ball in that El Khanous put in against Man City, he thinks, right, if he gets it in that area, I'm going to be ready for it this time. Not that maybe he wasn't, but he thought he was probably best to leave it for Buonanotte, who was behind him, wasn't he? But maybe he thinks, I'll peel off and I'll get in a slightly better position, because he's got that quality to put it in.
I think it was just one of those situations where he found himself in that position. He's made that trademark run, which all good attackers do. And when the ball found his way into the box, he was too far the other side of the near post. And so the clever thing to do was to leave it for somebody else coming in to the box, because there was no way he could have got that. Not even Jamie Vardy could have got that ball on target last week from the position he was in. So maybe that's a little bit of a timing issue. But that run in itself, as Mark's already alluded to, has drawn defenders across the goal with Jamie Vardy, because most defenders see him, and rightly so, as the danger man. What it did do was leave the space for the other players, i.e. Buonanotte, who was coming in just behind him and couldn't get anything on it, and obviously Mavididi, who didn't make that run into the near post. And that's all about being on the same page, being on the same wavelength, and all reacting off a really good run from Jamie Vardy, which unfortunately came to nothing.
I think just touching on that there, what you say about being on the same page, same wavelength, there's been a lot of changes to the team over the course of this season so far. There's been a change of manager, so different ideas. So I'm hoping what we seen last week is the start of something where now they can build on that. They can get some good weeks training, because obviously the game's been coming thick and fast, a couple of games a week. Hopefully now they can get good weeks training, get all these ideas together, and just learn what each of us strengths are, what they're going to do if they're in that position, what runs are the strikers going to make, what balls are the wingers going to put in. So I think over time that will come, but it needs to happen. It needs to happen fast, and it hopefully that last week was a bit of a catalyst. I know the result weren't there, but hopefully that was a bit of a catalyst with the performance to now push on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great point. And often managers, it can take them a month to get their ideas across. And that's pretty much what Ruud van Nistelrooy has had now in charge of the Foxes. We saw some great moments, though, during his first month in charge, of course, at the end of last year in December. Some fantastic goals as well were scored. So let's take a look back at some of the best of them, and you can then have a chance to vote for your favourite in our Goal of the Month competition.
Samari to Vestergaard again, and then Christensen by the halfway line. Elkanous plays one's in behind, and the flag stays down. Jamie Vardy, left side of the penalty area. Will he go for goal? He does, and he finds the goal, but the flag is up. And there we go. Cue the celebrations. Jamie Vardy straight to the travelling West Ham fans to say, have some of that. And now here come Leicester City. Bonanotte plays it over the top out wide towards McAteer. McAteer taking on Sofal into the penalty area. He goes, lays it off. There's the shot, and there is the Leicester City second. A fantastic control finish from Elkanous to double the Leicester advantage. Turning it to Christensen on the Leicester left. He'll go long early towards Daka. Daka's going to get there first. Takes it round Kilman, driving towards the West Ham goal. Left side of the penalty area. Daka! And that just sums up his performance since coming off the bench this evening. He has not stopped.
Havertz able then to win the header on forwards, but Leicester have it back again. Here's Cartwright. Looking early towards Munga, and it's a fantastic control that from the number 7 in behind. And he finds the finish, and what a finish it is from the 15-year-old. As cool as you like, beating the goalkeeper, and Leicester City have turned it around on the 70-minute mark.
And there's the roar, because we're into 5 additional minutes at the end of the second half. As Julio's given it away on the edge of the area, Mavididi works it left, big chance here, Vardy as he cuts it back! And Leicester are all the way back and level right at the last. And it was D. Cordova-Reid with the easy job, just to siphon it home. And from 2 goals down, the Foxes are level.
Nice layoff towards Rose, who could break forward again. It's a bit fortunate with the challenge. Comes back off her and she can continue her run here, Rose. Squares it for Sherwood. Is this her moment? Sherwood with her first senior goal for Leicester. And they're running right at the Foxes. 4 goals in 8 minutes at the end of this first half.
Now then, here's Hannah Kane. Rare chance for Leicester to threaten Hannah Hampton's goal maybe. Lovely ball from Kane as well. And they've got options over here. What an opportunity this is for Goodwin, who puts Leicester ahead. Would you believe it? But it's the substitute, Missy Goodwin, who gets the first goal of the game, and it's a Leicester City goal.
He looks to break forward for Leicester on the left, just slows things down slightly. 20 yards from the Liverpool goal, looking to get on the outside. It's a low divot ball. It's Jordan Ayew, back to goal. Jordan Ayew has scored for Leicester City, and those Leicester fans who have made the trip to Anfield are celebrating wildly as Jordan Ayew, with his back to goal from Mavadidi's cross, was able to turn 12 yards out, and it's nestled beyond the diving Alisson.
Well, they are the options then for December's Goal of the Month competition. Not often, I don't think our pundits agree on one, unless there's a real standout. But you are agreeing today, aren't you? On the third in that Rude's first game in charge.
Yeah, I think I do like the late equaliser by De Cordova-Reid as well. Great bit of play from Jamie Vardy. And obviously with it being so many minutes into injury time as well, so a massive moment in the game. But you've got to say the finish from Daka.
Well, let's watch this one first then.
Yeah.
It's all about Jamie Vardy, isn't it, really, Mark, here?
Yeah, I think the pass to Vardy is very good by Steffi, and then the composure that Var shows there, and the delicate touch with the outside of his foot just to play it for De Cordova-Reid to run onto it and makes his job easy. But to have that composure so late in the game, just to square it like that is incredible. And
the run as well that he makes, Jamie Vardy. You know, he gives Steffi Mavadidi a really good option. You know, in times gone by, we've seen Steffi Mavadidi try and go it alone there and get a shot off. But the run from Vardy initially just basically said to Mavadidi, you have to play me this ball. You know, because I'm in the best position to make something happen. And he obliges with, all right, it's not a difficult pass, but it's a pressure pass because of the situation Leicester are in. And then obviously the composure, the foresight, the unselfishness of Jamie Vardy to just delicately flip that round the corner.
Because that's the thing, he could have quite easily took it on his left foot and had a shot, especially at that time of the game, and snatched at a shot. But he's composed himself and found a better option.
But that doesn't get your main vote, Jerry, does it?
No,
Daka does.
I mean, it's a great finish. I know we haven't seen a lot of this from Patson Daka this season, let's be honest. And I mean, great first touch to get him away from the keeper. And what I love about is this little swivel here. He just unsettles the defender once again. And that's an emphatic finish, to say the least.
And I think that's exactly Patson Daka in a nutshell. That's when he's at his best, when he's pounced on it in the first place. His touches took him, and then he uses his pace, and then gets in front of goal, and the finish is brilliant with his left foot.
There you go. You can have your say, of course, as ever, on the Goal of the Month competition. If you agree or disagree with these guys, then do let us know. Speaking of pace that Patson Daka clearly showed, let's go to Matt Elliott, who is at Villa Park for us for this first game of 2025. Good afternoon and Happy New Year to you, Matt.
Many happy returns, as you would say, Batesy.
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, I know you're getting brave from a distance these days, Batesy, aren't you? But harsh but fair, I suppose. But yeah, all good, mate. Same to you guys in the studio, I hope. And looking forward to a great encounter this afternoon. Aston Villa, as Mark knows better than any of us, is in a wonderful stadium, isn't it? Great atmosphere. The tannoy's blasting away. There's a hive of activity all over the stadium, pitch side, on the pitch now. There's an army of players and backroom staff in view, and yeah, the scene is set, Daniel.
Yeah, 3 wins in the last 4 trips to Villa Park, Matt, for Leicester. And again, looking at team news from a Villa point of view, particularly missing some big players. We know Leicester obviously missing some very important players as well, but with their performance against Man City, they might fancy themselves today.
Yeah, I think there's a tinge more confidence, shall we say, than there was, say, a week ago. You know, before that game, like you're saying, a couple of omissions from Aston Villa's point of view. Still a very strong outfit, by the way. You know, right through the squad. But that starting 11's quite impressive. But For me, Rodgers not being involved is huge. It's huge, I think. He's the man at the moment, isn't he, over recent games? Match Turner at any time. I think they'll be pleasantly relieved he's not starting. But on the back, as you boys have mentioned already, I managed to hear some of the show, and you mentioned already about the positivity that must be, strangely, taken from a defeat at home last week against Man City. Yeah, that was, I think, is sort of commonly recognised, really, that most people think that was the best performance of the season, really, in terms of actual football played and developing an understanding amongst the boys and how the manager wants them to play. It was hopefully a sign for the future, and they need to produce something like that today at the very least, don't they, to get anything out of this game.
Hi Matt, it's Gerald here.
You never say.
You're looking nice and toasty there, mate.
Mate, I've still got the Canada Moose jacket on, mate.
Yeah. Good,
Hey, I was going to say something there. I just stopped myself, and it was a good job I did. But it's not too bad, Tags. Actually, I was fearing the worst. When you look out the front door or look out the window and you think, what's it going to be like today? But it's fresh, but more than manageable.
Good man. I'm glad to hear it. Matt, what do you make of the 2 changes from Leicester today? And how do you think that'll affect the outcome of the game?
Yeah, I've preempted your questions, Gerald. I thought quite clearly they're a couple of talking points, aren't they? I think. Well, with Christensen, I'm assuming it's some sort of injury or illness. I don't know, with him not being in the squad. So maybe enforced.
Illness, Matt.
Illness, yeah, we had that confirmed. Okay. Listen, there's not much you can do about that. I think. Are there any other options there, really? You could have switched James Justin or perhaps put Hamza in at right back, but then you're fiddling around a little bit, aren't you? I think it's quite clear that Van Nistelrooy is trying to get a settled team, but in particular rear guard as possible, isn't it? And I think that would be the reason for Luke coming in. He's going to have a tough game, isn't he? Up against probably Leon Bailey, I think it is. It would be directly up against him, who's obviously a handful. But Luke's an accomplished Premier League player these days, isn't he? So he's got a task on his hands. But it's a time for all players to step up, and Luke has to be one of them, doesn't he? With Ayew, I think a lot of people's eyebrows will be raised, really, with Buonanotte not playing. Similar, Liverpool, wasn't it, as well? I think Ayew got the nod. I can only think it's perhaps just that little bit of extra experience and sort of game nous, if you like, when Leicester are away from home. They'll have to sort of maintain possession. Ayew can possibly do that. We know about the free kicks, etc. Just use a bit of cleverness, possibly, that Buonanotte is still developing, and I expect him to come on regardless of the scoreline in the latter stages, and hopefully make an impact.
And of course, Matt, I couldn't let you go without asking you about the away day media room delights. What have you had so far?
Yeah, not too bad at all, Tags, this afternoon. When you park up here, it's about a 1.5 mile walk. I was worried when the car park steward said, the bus will be here in a minute to take you to the ground. I was like, hang on a minute, how far have we got? So it's a fair old walk. Tame Road, Mark. I don't know if you know the actual addresses of the streets around here, but a good old walk through, not the best area in the world, to be fair, but yeah, so get there. So I was hungry, looking for some fuel, shall we say, and luckily it was self-service as well. That was a result. I hate when there's restrictions. I was looking at the plates thinking they're not quite big enough, but there was a bit of bend to them. It was more of a bowl, which was helpful. Got a bit of depth on my food, but so anyway, long story short, it ended up rice and a combination. We're still trying to work it out 3 plates later, whether it was katsu curry or Thai green curry. It was a combination of both, really. After the 3rd plate, I slumped on my stool and nearly fell asleep in the media room. But,
well done, Mark. I'm glad you've had a good feed today. Thank you very much. We'll hear from you again on co-commentary duty as the teams kick off in pretty much 20 minutes exactly. So let's hear from the Leicester City manager then. Ruud van Nistelrooy was asked during his pre-match press conference about Aston Villa and what he's made of their season so far.
Yeah, they're doing an excellent job. I think Unai is a top coach. I followed him for many years, from his Villarreal times, Seville, now at Villa, and it's very clear what he wants from his team and how he has his team playing, and the success he also achieved with the different clubs he managed. So he's doing an excellent job with the players. There's quality there. There's some great players they've signed over the last years in combination with Monchi and Unai. So they really built Aston Villa up to a very good and stable club.
And this weekend they will miss some key players. John Duran, Morgan Rogers both suspended. Pau Torres is unlikely to play with injury. Could that be an ideal time for you to face them?
Yeah, but of course Bailey will be back from injury. They've got Mings back, so they've got a squad with two top players per position. So they will still have a top team out there on Saturday. So it's for us to be prepared to face them.
How important is that against Aston Villa? You already talked about a good strong side in Europe, doing well in the Champions League, but how important that you do turn the performance of the last couple of games into points?
It's vital, and we know that. I said from the beginning, also before the West Ham game, where it was the first game, that every game we plan is one to get a result, and how can we get a result? So we continue doing so. Of course, now going into the second half of the season, where 19 games to be played, it's clear where we are in the table, and performances combined with points can get us out of there. So that awareness is there, and we will continue to do so.
Can you give how you view the relegation fight and how tough it will be over the coming months?
Yeah, I had it very clear, and before I signed, that it will go right to the end of the season. So for me, there was my focus is on that, and I'm prepared with the team, game for game, until the end of the season, that we have to make sure we're there where we want to be, and it's clear for me that we'll go right to the end. So in that sense, I'm not focused on where are we now, but how can we develop and do better, and see where can we strengthen the team as well in January to be in a better position at the end of May, which is of course the finish line, where we have to be where we want to be.
That was Ruud van Nistelrooy, speaking ahead of this game with Aston Villa today. Mark, he always speaks well, doesn't he, Leicester's new manager? And he's been talking obviously about the challenge that stands before him here at Leicester and what they need to achieve in the second half of the season. But again, you don't want to harp back to it too much, but that performance against Man City was impressive. Even go back to the last away game away at Liverpool. They looked very good, certainly for 45 minutes. Jerry was there, and they can take confidence from the fact that you've played take away Man City's recent form, two of the best teams in the league, and have looked pretty good in both of them.
Yeah, I think I really enjoy listening to what he says. He's very composed in how he speaks. He's very level-headed. But I think the thing that I like most is he won't settle for just good performances. He's well aware that it's a results business. He spent a lot of his career at Manchester United. He spent time at Real Madrid. There's a winning mentality at these clubs. He would have had that drummed into him as a player for most of his career. So he brings that with him. That's in him now. So he'll know that the performances aren't enough, whether they're good or indifferent. That the performances aren't the be all and end all. It's a results business, and they need to start picking up wins. So the way that he speaks about that, I've got no doubt that's his main focus on how to turn these performances into wins.
Yeah, I think also on the back of that, I think obviously a major issue for Ruud at the minute is the amount of injuries, the amount of, Christensen added to that list. Okay, albeit through illness, but every game is massive now. And he's mentioned that, we're into the second half. Every game between now and the end of the season is massive. And I think if you're going to give Ruud a fair crack of the whip at Leicester City as manager, then you can only really judge him when he has the majority of his players back fit.
Yeah, you read the missing players for both teams. That they're hugely important players on both, but you'd argue Leicester's even more important. So the Villa are missing Diego Carlos, John Duran, Philogene, Rodgers, Torres. Probably 4 of those 5 certainly maybe get in their best 11. Mark, you might be able to tell me better. But then Leicester City missing Fatawu, Hermansen, McAteer, Ndidi, Ricardo, today now Christensen. There are players there that probably 5 or 6 that start in Leicester's best.
But it tells more for Leicester. Aston Villa are a Champions League team, so they can be afforded the finances to go out and bring in that quality of player that Ruud's already spoke about, having 2 quality players per position. Leicester are in a different scenario this time round because they come up from the Championship and haven't got, I'm not saying they haven't got it, but they can't spend the types of money that Aston Villa are spending. So the squad depth is not there, and you see that with the last 2 games that some of the players that are on the bench for Leicester, and that's no disrespect to those players, but I'm just basically speaking about experience at Premier League level. It just isn't there, and the quality of the players that you've just spoke about that are on the injury list are obviously going to affect the outcome in certain games. And so for me, the quicker those players get back, the quicker that Ruud can give this a real good run for his money between now and the end of the season.
Well, I've just listed the players that are missing from a Leicester point of view. Let's get a quick recap of today's team news. That man there, Steffi Mavididi, is in the starting 11 today on the left-hand side. 2 changes for the Foxes for today. Thomas and Ayew are in. Christensen, as we've been discussing, is ill. He's out. Buenanotte is on the bench. Stolarczyk in goal. Thomas, Vestergaard, Cody, Justin, Winks, Samare, Mavididi, El Khanous and Ayew in behind Jamie Vardy. 3 changes for Aston Villa, all of them enforced as well from an Unai Emery point of view. They've got Martinez in goal, Digne, Mings, Konsa, Cash, Kamara and Barkley, McGinn, Tielemans, Bailey and Ollie Watkins. It's a good point, Mark. We're coming towards the end of the show as we build up now to kick off. Before we hand to the commentary team, Jerry says that injuries do obviously hurt Leicester, missing players hurt Leicester, but we've seen this team are capable of going out there and producing a really good performance.
They are, yeah. They've still got quality in the side. I think if I'm Ruud van Nistelrooy in that dressing room on a day-to-day basis, I'm saying to my players, be available, always be available. There's things you can't help, illnesses, injuries, but do everything in your power to make sure that you're giving yourself the best chance of just being available. Be on the training pitch, be living right, be making sure you're doing the right things, because the next 4 or 5 months are a crucial 4 or 5 months, and we're going to need everybody in that squad. So the players that are out injured, make sure you're doing everything to speed up your rehab, to make sure you're going to be back fit. But from today's point of view, I think there's enough quality there, and there's enough areas where I feel like we can hurt Villa. I feel like there's a few different areas on the pitch where we can win the game. I think out wide with Steffi Mavididi up against Matty Cash, I think that's one area that I'd look at as possibly a strength of Leicester's. But like we said at the start of the show, I think the main part is in that middle of midfield. We have to make sure we win that battle.
Win that battle, Jerry, and you could win the game.
Yeah, and we spoke about areas of the pitch that are going to be massive. It's an away game. It's up against a team who've only lost once this season at home. It's going to be difficult, but I believe that if Leicester can get a grip of the midfield, then that will give us the springboard and the confidence to go forward. And obviously, I'm not going to harp on about defensively today. I'm going to try and stay positive and say, control that midfield, gives us a springboard to go forward and hopefully cause some issues.
Hopefully so. And that is, of course, at a ground where Leicester have a very good record in recent years. 3 wins out of their last 4 visits, only 1 win in their last 4 games as well for Villa at the back end of last year. So definitely a chance for the Foxes today. We are 10 minutes away now from kickoff at Villa Park. So we will hand you over to our commentary team this afternoon, where hopefully we can see Leicester picking up all 3 points on the road today.